All right, thanks to everyone for being here. First, you will hear from Fred and Jennifer Guttenberg, parents of Jamie Guttenberg. Or for those who may not have covered this tragedy, I'll say and spell the first and last name of every parent before they speak. Fred, F-R-E-D, and Jennifer, J-E-N-N-I-F-E-R, Guttenberg, G-U-T-T-E-N-B-E-R-G.
8 long years have passed since my innocent 14-year-old daughter's life was violently taken from her. Everyone has admitted their responsibility of what happened, except for BSO. Not only did the officer assigned to the school do nothing, the officers that showed up that day did nothing. My daughter was on the 3rd floor. For those who don't know, the carnage started on the 1st floor before the convicted monster made his way to the 3rd floor. Jamie's death could have been prevented that day. There was enough time for an armed officer to do his or her job, but nobody did. They all stood outside, scared for their own safety, taking their sweet old time. What is the point of having law enforcement if they're too afraid of enforcing the law? It was such a disaster that the killer was able to walk right out of his killing spree alongside hundreds and hundreds of students that were fleeing from him. What many also don't know is that medics can't enter an active scene. They have to wait to get the clear from law enforcement. Their lengthy delay that day caused those who were shot not to receive the medical care that they could have benefited from, and the death toll could have been less, my daughter included. It's important for the local community as well as the entire country to know what really happened, or should I say, what didn't happen. It's also important for everyone to know that BSO has done everything they can to sweep this under the rug. It is disgusting and it is unacceptable. While they all spend Valentine's Day with their families, my family will continue to grieve our loss with an empty chair. There will be no celebrating and no acknowledgement of Valentine's Day, ever. We know that we can't bring our daughter back, but we want accountability. It is important for us to be able to put this fight behind us after all of these years.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to start with this. In quotes, this agency is responsible. We have our guilt in this. We have blood on our hands. Those words were spoken by Sheriff Greg Toney about the Parkland shooting. So with that, now let me get on to why we're here. And first, I want to thank my wife, Jennifer, for speaking. Thank you all for coming. This February 14th will be Valentine's Day, and I am sure you will all be celebrating with your complete families. And I am sure those with the Broward Sheriff's Office, to include Sheriff Toney, will be celebrating with their complete families. I am sure members of the Broward County Commission will be celebrating with their complete families. We should be home celebrating with our complete families as well. Our beautiful forever 14 daughter should be turning 22 and living her best life and celebrating. However, Jamie will not, and we are not. At Jamie's funeral, I said she was the energy in every room that she went into. Her voice was powerful and unmistakable. She was fierce and she was tough. On February 14, 2018, while BSO was waiting outside and failing us, Jamie knew exactly what was happening as she ran down the 3rd floor hallway with a shooter at her back that she knew about. She was on the 3rd floor and one of the last to be shot. As she ran down this hallway, she made it to the stairwell. She made it to within 1 second of saving her life. She needed 1 second. Because BSO, she did not get the extra second. I blame BSO for my daughter's murder. Had BSO done anything, my daughter would be living her best life today, and BSO did nothing. For us, it will be 8 years since our loved ones were killed. For us, it will be 8 years since the Broward Sheriff's Office and the Broward County Commission failed us. The reason that we are here today is to let everyone know that they are still, in fact, failing us. Over the years, we have concluded all of our civil cases and the criminal trial. We've done everything, with the exception of the BSO lawsuit. While their failures are well documented, they have managed to delay a trial for 8 years through various motions that keep resulting in predictable losses for them. And they are still doing that. While many of you may not be aware, as recently as 2 weeks ago, they filed more appeals, again delaying the start of a trial that was in fact supposed to start this month. We want to face them in court. We want our day in court with the jury. We want to put an end to this. BSO and the commission are afraid of facing our families and a jury in that court, and that needs to end. Ending the delays so that we can all move forward is all that we want. We've had enough. We want and deserve a conclusion. A few years ago, Sheriff Tony finished his new building and put our loved ones' names in the lobby. You may have seen some video back then with Manny asking to have his son's name removed. I join Manny in that ask. I think Jamie's name should be removed until BSO actually does right by our families and allows this to go to trial. Finally, as for the Broward Commission, some of you are our neighbors and our friends. In spite of that, you are knowingly causing our families serious and ongoing pain. Why? I mean, Mickey Udine, you're from this community. Step up with the commission and do something. Mark Bogan, Steve Geller, Nan Rich, Lamar Fisher, Bean Fur, Alexandria Davis, Robert McKenzie, and Hazel Rogers, please help get this to trial. That is all that we want. We are done with the delays. We are no longer going to remain silent. It is time to get this done. Let's go to trial. Thank you.
And now we have Manuel and Patricia Oliver, parents of Joaquin Oliver. Manuel, Manuel, Patricia, Patricia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's been almost 8 years, and there's a few facts that affect me, and I have to go back to that day and share with you. Joaquin was the last victim that was shot that day. He was shot 4 times with an AR-15. I'm pretty sure he did not die immediately. I'm going to be very clear with you with the words that I use. I think there was a lot of suffering and panic and fear. I think he thought about me at some point. He might be crying. He probably thought about his mother. And that could have changed, but it didn't. So what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to say, oh, okay, that's where we decided to move, and that's how they live here, and we're fine. No, we're not. And that's why we had a few trials already, and we were able to close those chapters, but we still have one chapter open, and it's with BSO. And yes, like Fred said, we had already a very close encounter with Sheriff Tony. Besides asking him to remove Joaquin's name from that embellishing the training facility element that he did, thinking that that will be something for us to feel great with the BSO department, and using that as a sales pitch to raise the more than $100 million that building cost. We're not okay with that. That same day, Sheriff Tony looked at Patricia and he said, don't worry, I will get my lawyers to work on this and we will get this trial going on. That was probably less than a year ago or so. I still remember those words, by meaning that Sheriff Tony doesn't have a word, because you promise a mother of a victim from one of your failures in Portland, that you will help us to close the chapter. And again, I don't want to close Joaquin as a chapter. I carry the legacy of my son with dignity. That pain makes me do other things so I can protect other kids. We work together every single day. We honor Joaquin. We go to his room every morning. We salute him. I don't think Sheriff Tony goes every single morning to those names in the wall and salutes our kids. And we don't need you to do that. What we need you to do is to help us close your chapter, not our chapters with our loved ones. Because these are not your kids. These are our kids. So let's move on. Let's cut the BS. And get this thing out of our life. I'll be happy to say some things in Spanish once everybody addresses. And if you have some questions, we have to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, Mitchell Duaret and Annika Duaret, parents of Nicholas Duaret. Mitchell, Mitchell, Duaret, Dworet, and Annika, Annika.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for being here. Accountability. The question I have is, if your son is killed in a mass shooting and your youngest son is wounded while witnessing the killings of others at school, wouldn't you want to find out all you can? How could this happen? BSO has not been held to account, and their actions before and during this horrific tragedy. Delay after delay, with their lawyers' litigation tactics to avoid being in a court of law. It has now been 8 years. 8 years to answer in a court of law about their actions and or lack of before and during this mass shooting. Just adding to our prolonged grief and trauma. We will not stop in our efforts to have BSO answer in a court of law how this all unfolded, as well as their response during the killing of our loved ones, as well as having the community, our community, learning from their failures, so this will never happen again. Again, this is all about accountability from an organization that exists to protect and serve the citizens of Broward County. Thank you.
All right, we have Max Schachter, Maxschacter, Alex Schachter's father.
My last name is spelled Schachter. My name is Max Schachter. It's been nearly 8 years since my little boy Alex was murdered in the Parkland school shooting. From the moment Alex was murdered, school safety has been my life's mission. I have fought every single day for accountability so that no other parent has to stand where I'm standing today. On February 14, 2018, the Broward Sheriff's Office failed to prevent and failed to protect. They had been to the shooter's home more than 40 times. They received repeated tips that he wanted to become a school shooter, and they did nothing. Deputy Peterson and 8 other deputies waited outside while our children and teachers were murdered. 17 people were killed, and 17 more were injured. I will never forgive their failures. Every year on February 14th, the Broward Sheriff's Office and the Broward County Commissioners lower their flags and attend memorial ceremonies for the worst high school shooting in American history. Sheriff Greg Toney has publicly admitted that his agency is responsible, that they are guilty, and they have blood on their hands. But when the cameras are gone, their actions tell a different story. Behind the scenes, they refuse to accept responsibility. They continue to file frivolous motions and appeals, delaying our day of court, reopening our wounds, and prolonging our suffering. Every other entity involved has accepted responsibility. Everyone except the Broward Sheriff's Office and the Broward County Commission. Their failures contributed directly to Alex and 16 others being murdered that day. And we're here today because they're dragging this out. They are choosing delay over accountability. They're torturing the families, and this could end today. So I will say this clearly. If you're not willing to accept responsibility, if you're not willing to stop the delays, if you're not willing to tell the truth, then stop being hypocrites. Do not come to our memorial ceremonies on Valentine's Day and remove Alex's name from the Broward Sheriff's Office Training Center Memorial Wall.
Next, Tom Hoyer, Tomhoyer, Luke Hoyer's father.
Hello, everyone. I'll be brief. I can hardly believe that I'm standing here 8 years after my son Luke was killed. I'm still seeking the last piece of accountability. That accountability will come in the form of a trial for BSO and others that will examine the actions and inactions that help pave the way to the saddest day of my life. As we all stand here today, though, the County Commission and BSO are trying to delay the trial and their accountability. County and BSO are trying to delay the trial by filing frivolous motions and appeals. Now, these motions and appeals don't have anything to do with the facts, the evidence, or the testimony. These motions and appeals will have no impact on the eventual outcome of the case. In fact, these motion and appeals have already been filed by the other defendants in the case and been denied. County Commission and BSO are filing these motions and appeals simply as a tactic to delay the trial and their accountability. It's been 8 years. It's time to put a close to this. I'm asking the County Commission and BSO, have some mercy on us. Let this trial proceed. Quit playing games to delay the trial. Thank you.
And lastly, there's a statement that Fred will be reading from Linda Beagle, and then if you have any questions about the legal proceedings, Mr. Michaels is available for questions.
So I'm going to read this on behalf of Scott's mom, Linda Beagle. Thank you all for being here. My name is Linda Beagle Schulman. I am the mother of Scott Beagle, the beloved teacher and ex-country coach who was murdered in Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School while protecting his students. Until that moment, Scott was living his best life and doing what he loved, teaching and caring for his students. Scott had so much love to live for, so much life to live for. On the afternoon of February 14th, 2018, in a preventable act of gun violence, Scott was on the third floor summoning his students into their classroom. He was holding the door open to protect the students from an active shooter. When he tried to close the door, he came face to face with the shooter and he was shot and killed. Scott gave his life trying to save his students. While many share responsibility for what happened that day, I hold the Broward Sheriff's Office accountable. Simply put, had the officer assigned to the school and those who arrived afterwards taken action, Scott would have had the extra seconds needed to protect himself. As we now know, they did nothing. The community may have moved on, but our families have not, and we will not. That is why we are here today. While the Broward Sheriff's Office bears responsibility for much of the failure that day, they have spent the past 8 years using legal maneuvers to prevent our families from reaching a final resolution on their liability. Every other failed agency has faced their accountability. BSO has not. As recently as 2 weeks ago, BSO filed new appeals that once again delay our day in court and prevent this trial from going forward. Enough is enough. Our families deserve the truth, our community deserves accountability, and our loved ones deserve justice. It's time to stop the delays, it's time to stop the appeals, it's time to go to trial. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, can somebody, any of the parents, just tell us like what the lawsuit basically is asking for? You know, and what you're hoping to get in court?
I'll go. Does anybody else want to answer that? So,
Tom can answer.
Todd, you want? Listen, I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm not going to try to be a lawyer. But what we are asking for is a hearing in court where we get to go through the failures, their liability on those failures, in front of a jury. We want them to have to accept liability and responsibility for what they did. Every other failed entity has done that years ago already. They have been delaying this and delaying this and delaying this, and candidly, as a bunch of families, we have finally reached our breaking point. We've had enough. Thank you. Anybody else?
Podemos tener en español para poder.
Claro, bueno, gracias por estar aquí. Simplemente nosotros somos las familias, algunas de las familias que perdieron a sus seres queridos aquel 14 de febrero en la ciudad de Parkland. Muchos de los responsables de esta tragedia ya han estado en casos con nosotros, han enfrentado jurados y se han tomado decisiones en función de sus errores. Sin embargo, la oficina del sheriff de Broward no ha hecho lo mismo. La oficina del sheriff de Broward, si bien asume su grado de complicidad en los errores, no asume la responsabilidad de ir a un juicio, que es lo que simplemente estamos pidiendo. Ellos han hecho lo contrario, ellos han dilatado el juicio, lo han llevado a un momento en que ya después de 8 años no sabemos qué hacer para poder terminar con este capítulo. Es muy importante para nosotros cerrar este capítulo, porque es lo que nos va a permitir seguir con una vida que no es tan feliz como la de las muchas personas que nos están viendo ahorita, pero es la vida que nos toca. Entonces, simplemente estamos llamando a que vayamos a un juzgado, a que un jurado decida la culpabilidad o la no culpabilidad de la oficina del sheriff de Broward y que de ahí en adelante podamos seguir con nuestra vida.
Mr. Schachter, could I ask you a question about safety? Because you say that has been, can you tell us what you feel has been done in regard to safety in the schools in South Florida, and what still more needs to be done?
I mean, Florida leads the nation in school safety. There's no question about that. The Florida legislature has passed, a school safety bill every year since Parkland, and we have great leadership here, and we care about this issue a lot. But the one issue for the families that still has not been resolved is the case against the Broward Sheriff's Office and the County Commission, and we want closure. We want to bring this to a conclusion, and it's just unconscionable that on Valentine's Day, on February 14th, next week, all of the county commissioners and the sheriffs are going to go to the memorials. They're going to lower their flags to half staff publicly when the cameras are out, and then behind the scenes they're delaying us and refusing to accept responsibility, and that's got to stop, and do what's right. Don't be hypocrites. They shouldn't be coming to the memorials if, on the other hand, they don't want to accept responsibility for what happened that day.
So if anybody has any other questions, we can take them under here since it's raining, so everybody can break down. Yeah.
What the families have always been looking for is accountability. Obviously, the killer pulled the trigger, but there were a lot of other failures that allowed that to happen. And when you're talking about children going to school, we all entrust our children to the school, and the school's number one priority, even above education, is safety. The failures are almost too many to list, but specifically dealing with the police department and BSO's officers on site, failed to follow protocol, failed to go in, failed to confront the shooter when that's what all the training says, what all the protocols said since Columbine. As a result, the killer had free reign to act with impunity and harm so many people's children, injure so many other people's children. All the families want is their day in court. And I think where they're so frustrated at this point is, in every public arena, the sheriffs have said, our officers did wrong. We're responsible. We have blood on our hands. They have memorials for their children. But then when it comes time to actually let these issues be aired out in court, there's things you can do and there's things you should do. And you've got issues that have already been litigated by other parties in front of this court, have already been fleshed out in the appellate court, and for other parties to now go and file the motions that have already been heard, when there's no realistic chance of succeeding in those, what the families feel like is, on one hand, they're hearing, we know we're responsible, we want to make this right, and on the other hand, they're looking for any way to avoid that day in court.
Is it a civil case?
It's the civil case that remains against Broward Sheriff's Office.
And after so many years, is it going to be tougher now to be able to speak and win a case for these families?
Look, it's always tough just because of what we're talking about here and the enormity of the tragedy. Not only has it affected each individual victim, each individual family, and then of course the community. If there's one thing that I've learned in my years of being a lawyer, it's that juries are smart. Juries get it. Juries understand issues, particularly juries down here that live in this community. They understand what this case is all about. It's tough because of what the subject matter is, but we don't think the passage of time will have an impact on the case. We trust the jurors of Broward County.
And I know there was an appeal decision in November that has to do with the insurance. This is not related to that, right?
This is not related to that,
Okay,
no.
just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you.
It's just time. I don't want to be here at the 10-year anniversary still talking about BSO and accountability. You know, it's just time to move on with this chapter of this terrible, terrible event. So it would mean a lot to the families in terms of our ability to find maybe a little peace to have this whole thing behind us.
And we didn't have an opportunity to speak. Is there anything you want to?
I just wanted to say that every time this is happening, and everything is dragged up again and again about what happened that day, it prevents us from grieving peace. We just want to grieve in peace and remember our loved ones the way they were, and we want this to end.
I'm good. I
just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity.
Thank you.
Sí.
Ok, bueno Patricia, cuéntanos un poco, han pasado 8 años y están aquí todavía tratando de cerrar este capítulo, explícanos un poco.
Sí, definitivamente son varios los pasos que hay que seguir después de casi 8 años, estar viviendo este dolor de no tener a Joaquín. Entonces, bueno, como te explicaba anteriormente, es una cosa que el cuerpo lo va sintiendo y uno va, pues nada, emocionalmente se va desajustando. Y lamentablemente nos está persiguiendo este último juicio que es con el sheriff de Broward, con la oficina del sheriff de Broward, que ellos han asumido la responsabilidad de no haber entrado a tiempo al colegio, que fue la policía de Coral Springs que entró primero, y hubo varios policías, ya hubo el trial con el Scott Peterson, y allí no pasó nada. Ahí por supuesto hubo una gran frustración, pero la oficina del sheriff, que ahora la comanda el sheriff Tony, asumió su responsabilidad y que iba a hacer lo posible por cerrar este capítulo. En julio del 2024 nosotros estuvimos en el evento de la inauguración del edificio de entrenadores para entrenar a los policías, que era una cosa que la ciudad no contaba, y pasaron 100 años para que la policía pudiera tener un centro de entrenamiento. Y asumen y quisieron hacer el honor de que lamentablemente por la tragedia de Parkland se vieron obligados como a abrir este centro. Esto de alguna manera a nosotros nos pareció injusto, porque la vida de Joaquín tuvo que pagar para que tú entrenaras mejor a tu gente o a la gente que quiere trabajar en el servicio público como policía. En ese momento yo agarré al sheriff Tony y le dije: yo quiero que usted me prometa que este capítulo del juicio con ustedes se va a cerrar, porque ya venimos cargando de una fuerte emoción a nivel personal desde que fuimos al juicio grande, y eso emocionalmente nos destruyó a todos los padres en diferentes formas a nivel emocional. Eso es un dolor y un sentimiento que te genera terribles emociones internas mentalmente. Entonces él me prometió, mirándome a los ojos, que él iba a cerrar ese capítulo, e inclusive hicimos Pinky Promise. Y sin embargo, estamos hoy a punto de estar en el 8º año, en el 2026, y todavía esta gente del Broward Sheriff's Office está metiendo apelaciones y apelaciones para prolongar este proceso, a la cual nosotros definitivamente lo que estamos es pidiendo justicia. y contabilidad, porque nuestros hijos valen, nuestros profesores que perdimos también, nuestras familias estamos aquí pasando por esto. Y cuando tú no cierras un capítulo completo no te puedes mover del todo hacia adelante porque está ese peso dentro de ti persiguiéndote. Y eso no lo controla uno mentalmente ni emocionalmente. Está ahí, está ahí, está ahí y te molesta en el cuerpo y te enferma también.
¿Cómo tú pondrías en palabras ese sentimiento?
You know that you were guilty. You know that your deputy refused to go in. All the other officers waited outside. Do the right thing and stop delaying and filing motion after motion just to create noise here. Let's bring this to trial so that we can have our day at court and accept some responsibility. Don't talk to our face and say I'm sorry, and lower your flags to half staff and be at the memorials, and then behind the scenes all you're doing is delaying and preventing us from moving forward. It's just torturing the families even more, and we want it to end.
Any other thoughts?